Hey everybody, Coach Dan here with our very special guest, Keira D'Amato. Hey Keira.
Hey, I'm back. You liked me enough the first round. You brought me back again. I guess that's good feedback, huh?
And we've added some accolades since we last spoke. You're still the American record holder in the marathon, now raced in the World Championships, came in 8th place in the world there. And we're very grateful to have you here again as part of our Bank of America Chicago Marathon training journey in partnership with Nike Chicago and Nike Running. So I have a couple questions about, what you've been up to in the past month since we last spoke. So for those of you who may
When I
not
came on the last time, did I even know I was running?
know,
I feel like I would have brought that up had I known. So that,
I
yeah, a
would have
lot happened in this last month. A lot. Yeah.
a lot. So for those of you who don't know, uh, Keira, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had 17 days notice that you would be competing in the World Championships. So I'll leave
Yeah.
it at that. Can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, 17 days, not a lot of time to get marathon ready. I kind of was making the jokes that I like skipped through all the grind of marathon training and I was headed right into the taper. So I told everyone I'd be the guinea pig and I'd let everyone know how that goes. Don't do it. It made for a really hard last 10 miles. And it's funny because in my head, I'm like, this is great. I didn't have to go through all those grindy long runs and all those long tempos. But in the last 10 miles, I kept wishing I had had that training on my legs and just been prepared for that endurance. So I think that's a good tip for everyone going through marathon training right now. Use those runs to really get yourself prepared and kind of embrace the fact that it sucks sometimes out there on the training run, because that's what's going to really push you through on race day. So I learned the hard way. Don't do it, but also I wouldn't have changed anything. I mean, that was just a really cool experience to be able to wear Team USA across my chest, and just really proud that I went out there and I never gave up. I went in fighting and I fought till I crossed the finish line. So I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, I mean, as a fan of yours, I couldn't have been prouder of you really sticking your nose in it. And while you say you didn't really train, you're 8th place at the World Championships, and you had just won last time we spoke. You had won the BAA 10K, so you're doing some distance work. And Team USA was what, fifth? Sarah was fifth, Emma was seventh, and you were eighth. And you guys really worked together through the race. And what I thought was really notable in the early part was how brave you were. I think was exceptional, where we all know you went in probably less trained. The other American athletes had months and months and months of notice that they were training for this race specifically. You had 17 days, and then you really stuck your nose in it and went
I
out
rode to
hard.
win.
And I was
I rode
psyched.
to win.
Yeah, I was like, look at Kira just going hard. What gave you that, you you're saying you're undertrained. Certainly you had less time, but you also still went for it. You still had that, mentality to be brave. And what were you leaning on and thinking about in those early miles?
Yeah, I think that any opportunity I have to race against the best in the world, I'm going to seize it and try to prove that I can run with anyone in the world. In my head going into the race, I was thinking, well, if it goes out in the five teens, I'm running 10Ks under 5 minutes. Like this should feel pretty relaxed. And if it goes out any slower than that, that's going to feel, like a jog.
Right.
So I felt like really confident with where I was for that. I knew at some point it would probably catch up to me a little bit, but then again, I was hopeful that maybe it wouldn't. But I went out and I was like, I'm gonna try to win this. There's not too many chances you get to run at that caliber. And we went out, and I think forget what the first mile was, at like 5:10 or so, and then the next mile was 5:08, and then 5:09, and then something right around there. And I was thinking, I'm fit, but I'm not world record fit right now. Give me a couple more months or a couple more years to get there. So that's when I started pulling back, and I could hear the chants from behind me. Everyone was doing USA chants, which was really cool. So I knew Sarah and Emma were right behind me. So I pulled back and tucked in with that pack instead. But I don't know, I thought about afterwards. It's like maybe if I went out a little more conservative, I probably would have run a little bit faster. but no one in that chase pack was able to medal. So I'm going to run to medal. I'm going to run for the podium. So I'm probably going to do it the exact same way next time. And maybe next time I do a little better and finish fifth. And maybe the next time after that, I get in the podium. But one of these times I'm going to run like that and I'm going to win. And that's going to be a really cool day. So
Yeah, there's no doubt on over here about that. I mean, to jump in that race and run it like that, it was exciting to watch. You made us all proud. You made the fans feel really really excited. So thanks for doing that. It was incredible to watch. Um, there's got to be a record there. 17 days notice, eighth place. That's got to be a record of its own. I don't have the statistical knowledge of how to track that down, but that's got to be.
Yeah, I'm sure that's something. But I think what was so cool too is my time, I think, made the top 10 like US times of all time, which means Sarah and Emma also did also. So I think it's so cool for three US women to have such exceptional days on the same day on a world stage. So I feel like, the three of us really like put it all out there. We all really went for it. And I think, it was a good day to have a good day and to be part of Team USA on that day with such like support and camaraderie. And even though we're all competitors, I think that, we all work together. And that was really special to be a part of with Emma and Sarah.
Yeah, it was special to watch, and it being the first World Championships on U.S. soil. Did you get to experience much of the track races, or what were some other highlights from Eugene for you?
Yeah, I stayed out there, I think a week after, well, not quite a week, but I stayed out there a few days after my race and my family was there. So I think the highlight for me is one day my whole family, we went to track meet and I got to experience watching a world championship with my daughter Quinn and my son Thomas and my husband. And that was really cool. And it's like, it was really cool to be part of Team USA, not only just being the home team, like I felt the love, but then also being part of just our phenomenal like track team, like watching like Sydney like break the world record. That was like electric watching that in person. So that was probably my highlight. But then Noah Lyles, I mean, he just really brought it. So it was cool that I was like on the team. And the fact that I was eighth, I think I actually got a point for the team. So I feel like,
Oh,
I
nice.
contributed a little bit. But yeah, that was cool. That was real cool.
Every point counts. Best track team in the
Yeah.
world. You're on it.
That's what I feel. Yep.
That's amazing. So we're in the midst of our Chicago Marathon training journey, as I mentioned at the top. That's the occasion for our conversation, and we're at week 10 right now. 9 weeks to go. When you're this far out from a marathon, how are you thinking about things 10 weeks out? Presumably you'd have more time to. You're 10 weeks out instead of 17 days. What would you be thinking?
Yeah.
Normal cycle at this point?
Yeah, I think like keeping consistent, and making sure you're sticking to the plan. I mean, at this part, it feels kind of far away, but it's going to sneak up on you quicker than it realizes. So I think sticking to the plan, making sure that, whatever you're prescribed as far as long runs or tempos, that you're really taking the time and focusing in on that. And like really when you have that like key workout of the week or every other week, however it's built into your schedule, treat it like race day. So like go into it and have the same thing for breakfast and set the same like water along the course, but just go through what it feels like timing wise, find out when the race starts and try to start your runs around the same time and just get your body used to that. And I think the more times you can replicate that in practice before race day, you're going to go to race day being like, oh, I know this is just another workout. I've done this, dozens of times or whatever. So but I think, keep at it, keep at it and eyes on the prize, so you want to stay focused and yeah, stay with it, man.
I like it. So we have two plans that we kind of follow, of a beginner plan and an intermediate plan. And the beginners this week, they're running 10. So this is a down week for them. It's a recovery week. They're just regathering strength to march back up. That's their assignment. Conversely, the intermediates are in an up week, and they're marching up to what I call a discovery distance, which is sort of like a new
Oh,
long distance within a training cycle. As you take some time off or between cycles, you bring your mileage down. And as they march up into these real miles, I call it every time discovery distance, even though it may be a distance they've hit before. it's not one that they've hit in this training cycle. And the beginners go through that experience, potentially every time there's a very long run. The 12 could be their longest ever, and then they set new longs as they go. So when you have that experience of approaching the longest distance for the first time of a training cycle, as you're in a build-up, how do you think about that? Do you approach that differently than, say, you're a second or third time you're gonna hit that distance, say it's 18 or 20 miles?
Yeah, I think for me, I think about things really granular, because when I'm looking at, like, this morning I did 20 miles, and like when I think about it in 20 miles, that's really intimidating and seems
Yeah.
really daunting. But when you kind of look at it every mile at a time and say, like, if you are going 10 miles, but you've already done 8 before, well, you can go 8. So make it to 8, and then you're going to find a way to move through it. But I think when you can break it down into smaller, like, chunks, it just seems more manageable. And I think we're all so much more capable than we know. And I think to be brave enough to go for something that you've never done before, I mean, it takes a lot of courage. But I think on the flip side, when you achieve that, you feel so proud of yourself. So I think that it's okay to go in a little scared. I think it's okay to go in nervous, and it's okay to not even know if you can do it, but to take that chance and risk it, because if you do it, oh boy, that's a good day. So but I'm with you. Yeah, I get nervous for runs. Like, I get nervous when I, like, build up too. So I can definitely relate to the feeling. It never quite goes away. But just be brave and go for it. What's the worst that happens? Like, we don't do it, we'll try again tomorrow. So, or maybe not tomorrow, but you know what I'm trying to don't do back-to-back long runs like that. But and you know what, I'm rooting for you too. I feel like the marathon journey, you discover a lot about yourself and what you're capable of. And yeah, it's a really powerful thing.
I love what you said there. Be brave. That sometimes people underestimate themselves, and those two things don't need to be in conflict with one another. It might sound like to be brave and to go for it doesn't mean that you have the expectation that you always can, but give yourself, like, be brave enough to find out, right? That's so it sort of can be in the attitude that you put into it.
And I love what you just said too, like, I think it's okay to, like, hold two emotions, and at marathoning, I feel like I'm always doing this, that I'm really nervous and I'm not sure if I can do it, but I'm going to be brave and I'm going to go for it. Or, like race day, it's like I'm really excited, but also it's a little scary. So I think, like, being okay to hold on to those two emotions during marathon training, that's okay. You can have the two at the same time. And I love what you just said there.
Well, I appreciate that. And then when I think about my beginners, so they're in a week that's a recovery week. So the mileage has come down so that they can gather strength and take on new longs in the next couple of weeks. How do you approach that kind of week? And do you have those built in, or do you take that more by feel at your level?
Those are really important. I'm on a 4-week cycle where I build up 3 weeks, and the fourth it comes down. I typically feel the worst in that recovery week or the regeneration week. So if right now you're thinking, oh, this is my down week, I should be feeling great. It's normal. Your body's catching up and it's making up. You're going to need probably a little bit more sleep. I find I'm kind of cranky in a regeneration week just because my body's making up. Like, I put it through all this stress, and now it can, like, breathe for a little bit. But I think that's really important, and take that seriously. Like, I think also when trying something new, you're going to want to, like, cram and do more. And that's not the time during a recovery week. Make sure your body can heal so you can build up upon that. So I think that's so smart. I build that into my training, and I think, like, really respect that. I think also, I add in, like, a massage or going to a PT or a chiropractor. So I think all those physios, it's a really good time to do during your regeneration week, and kind of add that in there, and just make sure that you're refreshing of doing all the small things, that you're staying hydrated, you're making sure you're getting in the right fuel and nutrition. So I think that for me is the week to, like, really sync back up and make sure I'm, doing all right, that I can build from there.
I love that point you made, because I get that a lot from athletes, where they have the expectation that, you do a couple of it, especially as we get deeper, where we go like 18, 20 miles and then come back down to 12 to 15 or something. And people expect to be feeling great in that 12 to 15 after they did 20. And it doesn't happen. They feel like junk because they need the recovery week. It's their, because they just did so much. And I think part of that expectation that it's easy, sort of it's an easier run gets in your head, rather than the fact that I'm doing less because my body needs a rest. And
Right.
I love that you preempted that feeling for my athletes, because a lot of them can sometimes be surprised by the fact that the short ones are actually hard. Sometimes it
It
doesn't feel
makes no
any easier,
sense. It really makes no sense to me. But
but,
yeah, just be prepared. Yeah.
but it's a fact. You just heard it here from the American. um, Any other training tips, as we're still in the heat of the summer? The last question I have is, you talked about hydration, how you like to switch between electrolyte drinks and water almost all the time. And you're doing a lot of running, a lot of, what day is today? It's Tuesday. You hit 20 miles today, so you're always need to be really well hydrated. And your tip has been to switch. Anything else that comes to mind while you're out there in the heat? Because it's even harder where you are than I'm in Boston.
Yeah, I mean, the hydration is so important, but I think also like I try to add okay, I'm not a nutritionist and I'm not a registered dietitian, so these are my tricks. I would fact check them before I'm flying, but I try to cook with a little more salt too, just because I feel like that's a way to get a little bit more. And
Yeah.
then also I find like in the summers I get dizzy a little bit when I run, and to me that's a sign that I'm under fueling with something. So I'll talk with the nutritionist, or I'll do like an inside tracker. I'll just run and make sure that everything's okay, because that's not right. You shouldn't be feeling dizzy. So typically for me, I'm not getting enough protein and some of like the healthy fats. So I try to put more of those in my diet all week and not just cram the day before, but I'm trying to get carbs like a sweet potatoes or rice or things like that on a daily basis to make sure that my body can push through in this heat. But then also like I'm doing lots of sunscreen. I'm wearing hats. I'm wearing sunglasses. So I'm really preparing when I'm running to really try to if I'm running without sunglasses or hat in the sun, I squint and I get headaches.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of helps with that. And then, to as soon as you get in from a run that you sweat a lot, try to be, loading it back in the system. So
I find the same thing. The sunglasses are a major help for me. I don't, it feels exhausting when you're squinting the whole time.
yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's our chat for this week, athletes. Thanks so much, Keira. We're so excited to have watched you race. When will we watch you race again? Do we have any races on the calendar currently?
We're gonna see how this recovery goes, and that will kind of shift my fall schedule and everything. But right now I think I'm going to be doing a race at the end of August and then maybe a couple in September. So but marathons take a lot out of you, so I'm going to see how I feel. Typically I take like a good month after a marathon, but being that for Worlds I was just half baked, I hadn't been training, so I think I recovered a little bit quicker because my body just gave out before like my muscles did. So kind of a weird thing there, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe next update I'll have done another marathon or something. I'll have a surprising new update for next
There are
month.
new,
But
yeah. I think the schedule. Thankfully, I think the schedule has subsided in terms of like massive events you could possibly be thrust
yeah.
into. So,
I'm here for it though. I'm here for it. But also just good luck to all the runners out there. I just think training for a marathon is such a journey mentally and physically. And it like really just my heart tickles thinking about all of you going on that. So I'm rooting for you. Best of luck and keep in there. These are the good weeks to really focus and get down to business.
thank you for that. I know all my athletes appreciate that, and really appreciate what you put out there for Team USA, for all of us, for yourself and your family. You're just an exceptional role model and coach to us. So thank you so much for your time here and what you do out there on the roads.
Bye guys.
Talk soon. Thank you.